good, YouTube? What's good? It's Stormybman, and I am back welcoming you to the Friday night chop session with Stormybman. As we get into it, this is episode number 90, and we're calling it Rumbling and Stumbling. That's right, for this Friday, December 5th, and we've got something in the bag for everybody for tonight's show. So, with no further ado, we're going to go right ahead, get into the show. Glad that everybody's out there rocking with us this evening. I've got my man Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens with me as we begin the show. What's going on with you, Reggie? How you doing, man?
Oh, doing good, chilling, man. About to get this whole week, holiday week started.
I hear you, man. I'm ready for it too, man. So ready for it. As we get on into this, man. A lot of people don't know. At the end of the year, you see a lot of funny things, man. And we've seen some funny things over these past few weeks. And the year ain't over yet. And we'll probably see a few more. You know, like Clubber Lang said in Rocky, what was it? Rocky 3, he said, I got some more. If you get up, a lot of more. So I think there's some more in the bag for us as we talk about this on this evening, man. So, with no further ado, let's get right on. Man. We a little bit later on our start. You know, we wanted to get this last card of the evening in before the show, which was the card that took place with on the zone with Triple G, man. This guy, he had a chance to come out there and bore the audience to death again with his rumbling and stumbling over there in the ring, looking like Father Time is chasing him around in there. But I don't know, man. We were just talking about it a little bit before we went live, Reggie, and I'm just not impressed. But I did want to let that card finish before we launched the show, because it would be a talking point for the show and another stake for the claim of at least one of the Charlos, in this instance Jamal. You know, it would be great for him to have this guy's name on his resume as a fighter, as a former champion that he could conquer. Because I definitely believe that Triple G cannot go 12 rounds with Jamal Charlo. That's just my personal sentiment. I mean, I'll ask you what your thoughts are, Reggie, but I just feel it. I feel Charlo stops him. Possibly in brutal fashion. But with the ego he has, he probably wouldn't even allow that. He'll probably stop on his stool in the corner or something like that, saying his shoulder went out or whatever. And we ain't never heard him talk about having shoulder problems or whatever. What are your thoughts on that, Reggie?
Man, oh, which one? About Triple G's performance or him as a whole?
Well, I'm just saying that, you know, I think that he's ripe pickings for Jamal Charlo, and I would like to see that fight in 2021 for Jamal. And I see Jamal stopping the dude, man. Really. I mean, we could talk about his performance tonight second, but I just thought I'd, you know, rip on into him right away because, you know, I want to be savage like that this evening. I want to rip him a new one since he received so much praise on the DAZN network from those guys. I just were in total disagreement with the guys. So I'm just coming up with my angles, but you could go ahead and give yours.
Yeah. With tonight, man, I mean, he looked cool in front of this dude. I mean, he's able to get that jab off. He dropped the guy about 4 or 5 times. The guy really didn't give too much of anything. He was able to land a few punches, but the thing is, he had nothing for Triple G to respect. He had nothing to back Triple G up off of him, and that was the reason behind picking a guy like that, like we were talking about earlier, it's a guy with only 5 knockouts out of 30 fights or something like that. So he was no threat to Triple G. But what I did see with Triple G going in this fight is Triple G showed signs of aging, even in a fight in which he looked pretty good against this dude. He looked to separate himself against this dude, but you can clearly see that this ain't the same Triple G. He couldn't get this guy up out of here. He did not turn the lights off on this dude. So I don't even know if the power is still the same as what it used to be, because this guy kept getting up. Didn't appear to be too hurt after he got back to his feet and was able to keep fighting with Triple G. Triple G let him off the hook because Triple G didn't have enough in his tank. Now, if he'd have been in there against Derevyanchenko once again tonight, Derevyanchenko would have stopped Triple G. And that's what I'm looking forward to, seeing Triple G and against real competition. But this other competition got to start calling Triple G out. He done came off of this victory right here. They want to hype that up. It's time for somebody to steal that shine. So they can't write off, oh, he ain't the same. No, they want to hype him up. It's your turn to step up in the and step toe to toe with him and get him up out of there. Make it look real impressive and brighten your shine against this dude, because he's right for the pickings. At this point in time, Triple G is right for the pickings. And I think Andrade, since he's over there, needs to start vocalizing the fact that he wants to fight Triple G. He doesn't have a fight, or I don't even know if Andrade has a fight, but he needs to hurry up and get something going, get at Triple G while the moment is hot. And also for Charlo, get at Triple G while the moment is hot. Man, I don't know why these dudes don't vocalize. Nello, it's time for these dudes to start getting vocal and get right up on this dude. But in this victory, like, once again, he showed that he didn't have and start backing up. And this guy came right forward at him, and he was looking good for 30 seconds. But once Triple G realized this guy doesn't have anything, he started opening up with that jab and walking forward at the guy. He was landing big shots on this dude, and the guy took a lot of these shots, man. But I wonder what would have happened if that ref did not stop that fight, because at that moment there was openings into where that guy started to look good as Triple G started to fade. So I'm like, can't blame the stoppage. The dude was taking a lot of damage, but I'm like, the dude didn't look like he was trying to get out of the fight. He looked willing to go. Didn't see him hurt at any moment from being dropped. All those times he was dropped by those punches, I didn't see him really hurt, and I think he could have continued on. And I wanted to see what Triple G would have looked like going into deeper waters in that fight, like his homeboy tonight. But that's my thoughts on that.
If the ref wanted to stop the fight, why didn't the ref stop the fight when he got knocked down from a jab? Which was the last knockdown. Why he wait till the man get up, finish the round, then go back to his corner, sit down, and start getting refreshed and everything, and come over there? And I heard it just before they changed the camera angle. The ref comes over to him and says, "I'm going to stop this," and then he waves it off. He didn't ask him, was you okay? You got another round in you or nothing? He went over there like, he was on Triple G's payroll and tell the guy, "I'm going to stop it." No. If the man get tired from punching the other guy in the face and then get knocked out himself, that's a great comeback. You understand? But seeing that Sermenta already had taken 4 knockdowns in the fight, was never in danger of being out for the count. He just went down because the man is strong and got popped. But he kept getting up. He was 21-0, but he only had 5 KOs. And this other part about Triple G, we might as well call him Double G, because he don't have that third gear no more. He don't have it. It's like 2G now, a downgrade from 3G. He went down to 2G now, and it's little G's. It ain't the capitals no more, He's simmering. He's running on fumes at this time, and I just don't like the fact that they hype these guys when the complexion is different, okay? And they keep them away from quality opposition totally and fully all the time. And then they keep feeding them a host of guys that really don't belong in the ring with them. And they don't talk about the guys being bums. They don't talk about the guys being stiffs or nothing like that. They talk about how great he is because he's getting off shots and combinations and pulverizing shots against a guy who can't get out of the way, has no lateral or foot speed or movement, okay, has no punching power, even doesn't even have a name that we know of, and he's in there being battered around the ring, but is game because he's undefeated, and Triple G having a hard time getting rid of the guy. And he's blowing in there, Reggie. He is huffing and puffing. Therefore, the title of tonight's show, Rumbling and Stumbling to a Finish. Huh? And he needed the ref to help with that. Come on, man. I am not giving this dude credit. And then they want to talk about 21 title defenses. How did he have 21 title defenses? Didn't he lose to Canelo? Huh? Did he not lose to Canelo?
Right.
So how are they continuing his streak of title defenses? They start all over when you come back and you get the belt. They don't continue. If that's the case, then Muhammad Ali had more than 10 title defenses, didn't he? Tell me, am I telling the truth? Ali had 10 title defenses before they took his title away from him, and he was off for 3 years. Okay, he comes back and he fights Joe Frazier in a fight where Frazier was awarded a championship while he was out. Huh? And he loses the decision to Frazier. He regained the title against Foreman in 1974. A new streak of title defenses began from that point till he lost to, who was it he lost to? Leon Spinks the next time? Dude, it doesn't continue. It does not. So why are they selling this thing like this to the people, the public watching this, and it's a disgrace? Because you know why? I'll tell you why. It's because of his complexion. They want to make heroes so badly they can't be honest about what you're looking at. And that's a damn shame. Because all these other fighters out here, if that's the case, Manny Pacquiao, how many damn title defenses he got running in the streak then? Huh? Because through all the weight classes he's gone through, he's lost some fights, he's lost some decisions, he's come back, he's got knocked out, he's come back. Huh? And if he defends again, this should be his 2000th title defense, huh? Because he lost and everything, so why you ain't continuing his streak? I'm just telling you, if you're going to watch this, you need to have capable people around explaining it to you. Okay? You need to have capable people. Because this is not where you create heroes. These men who go to war in that square, they create their own legacy. They don't need no help. They don't need people vying for them. Huh? They don't. Just the other day, and this is directed at Mexican Fight Fan, MXBC. You know what I'm talking about. When I said the other day, I talked about Jerry Cooney. Jerry Cooney was a good fighter. He lost to better fighters, but he beat very good fighters before he challenged Larry Holmes for his title. So when people called Jerry Cooney a bum or said negative things about him, I totally disagree with that. Because he beat some guys who actually beat champions. Jimmy Young beat George Foreman. Jerry Cooney beat the crap out of Jimmy Young. Okay? Ron Lyle went life and death with George Foreman. Jerry Cooney took Ron Lyle out. Okay? Ken Norton beat Muhammad Ali. Arguably 3 times. Jerry Cooney smoked Ken Norton. Okay? And this wasn't no over-the-hill Ken Norton or nothing. It was the same Ken Norton who had lost that great 15-round decision against Larry Holmes for the WBC title back in '78. Jerry Cooney was a damn good fighter. And even though they tried to hang a complexion tag on him. He wanted to go on his merits in the ring. Respect to Jerry Cooney. Okay? He didn't let them try to put that albatross around him. He did it with his fist. And when he lost to George Foreman and he lost to Michael Spinks, he lost to class fighters. Michael Spinks was one of the greatest light heavyweights of the modern era. He beat the crap out of Jerry Cooney. Okay? George Foreman knocked Jerry Cooney out like he did an assortment of other gentlemen in the boxing game. So it's like when you look at this, you have to call it for what it is. Okay? And I'm telling you what it is. You don't continue a streak of title defenses after you lost. It starts over. Huh? Do you still get paid from a job that fired you and you still working in that field? Do you still get back pay from the other people? If it wasn't an unemployment streak in between there somewhere? No. We're looking at it for what it really is. And Triple G has 2 belts. I don't know how he got those. I thought he lost to Canelo. But anyway, you out there, it starts over. Okay? You don't continue that. Huh? And this is what they're trying to sell the public. And the DAZN analysts, they're on that TV talking about how great he looked and everything. I was texting back and forth with some people offline saying, like, you know what? This guy's missing right hands and everything. I'm like, look at him. He look old. He missing right hands against a guy who is standing right in front of him because he can't move. He don't have lateral movement. The dude was missing. And the shots that did land, they were punishing shots. They were very heavy, but the man was game. And he took them like a fighter is supposed to. They were hoping he would fold up like an accordion, but he didn't. And he was competing with everything that he had, which was not much. That's not his fault. It's their fault because that's who they picked. And that's who they picked for Triple G to fight because they're afraid if they put him in there with someone else who could fight back, they may beat him. Just in the fight before, a year ago, when he took on Deverenchenko, they robbed Deverenchenko from a victory over him. This man has been given par gras the whole time, going all the way back to when HBO started to bring him out there and prep him up in front of you and tell you he was as good as Marvin Hagler. And if any of you took that bait, you should be drunk by now, dead from alcohol poisoning. Go ahead, Reggie.
Nah, man, I agree with you, man. I don't understand it. And I don't understand how he championed again. I had the box record, and I seen there was a vacant title put on the line for this dude to walk right through the door and get an opportunity in which he shouldn't have won that fight. And that's the politics. They wanted to put this dude right back in the driver's seat to run this narrative of him surpassing Bernard Hopkins, just to have a white complected face up on that title reign. But I mean, it's cheap. It ain't even a worthy tag to put on this dude. Ain't nothing historic about what he's accomplished. Ain't nothing historic about what he did tonight and about the guy he's fighting. Through his career, he's been fighting guys moving up in weight who shouldn't be in there in the ring with him. A lot of these smaller guys that moved up against him were the ones who exposed him. But his career has been real cheap. His career has been real cheap. And the whole night, listening to those commentators, and the only reason why I listened to the commentators because I was at work while the fight was going on and driving. Otherwise, I would not have listened to any bit of it. But I'm glad I did because it shows me to why the sport of boxing struggles. Because when it comes to the production side and you listen to stuff like that, it almost sounds like this is a child-rated show. Like the audience that they were trying to capture with this kind of goofy commentary going on was almost like a PG-5 or something, like 5-year-olds they're broadcasting to. It was cornballish, and they don't add any excitement, thrill, or anything to the expansion of boxing. They really push it away because otherwise, if I wasn't a boxing fan, just looking at it from the standpoint, listen to these dudes, I would have turned away from it. But to talk about Triple G being one of the most avoided guys. It was killing me listening to these fools say that type of crap.
That was utterly ridiculous, Reggie. And not to cut you off, but I want to say this real quick. We got the brother Scrapbook Boxing out there in the chat. Salute to Scrapbook. He's been away and he's coming back in the chats and everything. I want to acknowledge him and pose the question to Scrapbook because he's out there. He's a historian. He knows these things. Scrapbook, would you let these people know by please writing it in the chat? If you lose your title or the title that you fought for, whatever, or you defended, if you acquire another title, if it's vacant or you win it off of a guy, they do not continue your title defense reign and streak when you acquire a new title. If you've lost in between, would you please acknowledge that in the chat for these people so they'll understand? And not only that, would you also let it be known that when someone has an agenda that you can clearly see, they hope that there's no one to dispel the truth, to expose them for their lies, and they will be allowed to continue. If you notice, they had Gabe Rosado on there, okay? And Gabe, I'm sorry, he's a great professional fighter, but he is not a world champion with multiple title defenses or anything like that. So he wouldn't know to speak of these things, even though he may know the rules and policies, but he's not going to challenge it on the air because they'll look at him, and say, well, you ain't a world champion, Gabe. You understand? So it's disrespectful to the sport. It's disrespectful to Gabe. And it's disrespectful for my ears to be able to hear them shower us with so much BS out there. And Scrapbook can tell you all about it. Salute to Renee Box Young out there in the chat, and Eric R, and also Trap House Boxing, who decided to come and join us this evening in the chat. Salute to you brothers, man. But I'm telling you, this is the kind of thing that they hope that you people do not look at and won't be able to attest to what's going on. Curtis Anderson out there in the chat as well. Salute, Kurt. Kurt can tell you, you don't continue your title run after you've lost. That's why it's defenses. Larry Holmes had 20 title defenses before Michael Spinks beat him the first time. And later on, when he won the WBO title, that didn't make 21. That didn't make 22 or however many times he defended it before he lost to Oliver McCall. It's like, man, come on, what are you doing? You see what I'm saying? So it's like, just think about it, bro. It's like they hope your ignorance will keep you in the darkness, bro. I'm sorry, Reggie. I just wanted to put that in there like that. Hopefully that Scrapbook was able to answer that.
Oh yes, indeed. But yeah, I couldn't stand to listen to that, man. And the other thing that bothers me, like when you're speaking about Gabe stepping in, the other thing that bothers me is with these cornball. Here's a bunch of these chunks who they have sitting on there who went to school to learn to write papers, who are always adding disrespect to the certain fighters that come on there. Like when they do with Sergio Moore ain't even there, and they speaking about Sergio Moore being knocked out like it's just some running joke. This is a dang warrior who gets in there to risk his life, challenge himself. He earns $1 doing what this is the realest way that man can handle conflict rather than picking up weapons. And these dudes constantly sit there and say little cornball stuff because they know Sergio's a reserved dude who can maintain his temper. They wouldn't do that with any one of these other fighters who'll blow up on him. And that stuff boils my blood. Now, when he called on Gabe Rosado, says, yeah, you've been in there and you've been dropped by him 5 times. At that moment, Gabe should have snapped on that cornball because they sit there and they act like I said, the telecast they ran sound like it's being projected for 5-year-olds, a bunch of goofy types that sit around, joke, giggle, and play grab ass type stuff is what this network seems to kind of cater itself towards. And I think more respect, they need to get rid of these dudes and bring in people who show real respect to the sport of boxing. And also whenever they bring fighters on there, to not make running jokes of what happened to them in past fights against other fighters. But I had an issue with that. But to talk about Triple G being the most avoided fighter is something that should have been challenged. Hopefully they, well, of course it ain't gonna happen, but it happened based on these type of dialogues that we have. This dude ain't been avoided by nobody. The Charlos have called for him. Many other fighters have called for him. Even smaller fighters have called for Triple G. Nobody has voided this clown named Triple G. And he's at the point to where people are calling for him and people want to turn a blind eye. Because now the dude said, oh, now that he's kind of over the hill or something, he said now people want to call him out. But before he was the boogeyman. I was like, man, these dudes will do anything to want to build up this mystique around these people who don't do anything to prove themselves. And when you look through his record, Triple G record, there ain't really no one on there. So I mean, how can you even class this dude as being in comparison to any of the greats at middleweight? But that's my thoughts. Even Canelo wasn't a true 160. The dude who moved up for this dude.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, Bernard Hopkins, when he became the undisputed middleweight champion, he began to defend his titles. But as he continued to pick up other belts, the IBF was the one that he originally held. And as he picked up the other belts through the tournament and everything, as he defended each sanctioning body's title, you know, for a title defense, it became, you know, it was grandfathered into his defenses. But for them to come and say he's past Bernard Hopkins didn't have a break in between his situation. It was consistent for years. You know what I'm saying? And then he went up. He moved up after he lost his decision at middleweight, and he moved up in weight. It was like, man, they are really running the game on people that don't know the sport. And I'm sorry, but we are in an era where people do not research and look up things for themselves. We have people out here like Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens. We got Xavier, the boxing nerd, out there, and a few other brothers out there, forgive me if I don't mention everybody's name, who have looked and invested in checking out boxing from the time that they found out that they love it, okay, and just start going back and researching things for themselves. And we need more people like that, because then they can pick up the mantle when I'm not around to talk about it, or Scrapbooker's not around to talk about it, or Kurt Sugar's not around to talk about it, so that we'll have lineage of people with knowledge, because knowledge is power. You cannot continue to walk around in the dark thinking you know every damn thing, and you're not even versed to pick up a manner of which how to find out for yourself. You'll just take a vibe. Oh, I heard they put it on Instagram today, blah, blah, blah. And so there you out there, now you typing on the internet and everything, and that gets fire and legs, and it takes off as a story, and it's not even true, not even facts. And nobody bothered to check for the facts. Huh? You got libraries in each and one of you, wherever you are in your neighborhoods. But how many times have any of you gone in there and looked up some boxing? Huh? The internet is nice and convenient, isn't it? But it is not the only means of finding things out. You got some veterans out here, people who have been around, okay, and have lineage. They have history. You can sit down and have conversations with them, and they can tell you stuff that you wouldn't even know that's not in a book, okay? But if you're just going to pick up from what somebody said because they had 1,000 views, huh, on social media, and take that as the gospel, what are you going to do when they turn this thing off, huh? And you ain't going to be able to go through here to get anything. You got any books on your shelf you could open up and look at? Because they got to come in your house and get rid of those, huh? Think about it. Blood Boxing got crates of books and magazines. He be having giveaways on his channel for the material. Huh? That stuff is invaluable because it's in print and it's history. It's right there. And you got to sit up here and listen to these bullcrap announcers and analysts talking like they talking for a guy like this. Huh? This man has avoided everybody. But they talk about him as if he was Marvin Hagler himself. Get out of here, man. I'm just putting it out there so you'll know better. And if you want to disprove what Stormy is talking about, open a book. and let's discuss. Huh? Don't go to Instagram. Huh? Don't go to Facebook where the Facebook boxing clubs are. Huh? Go to the library. Do some good for yourself. Burn your eyes and your ears up by reading a few chapters on something. That's what has got to happen. That's what's got to take place. Otherwise, you're going to be full of crap. Just like they teaching kids in school today. Crap! This is probably the circumstances that we've had to deal with this year is good for any of those who wanted to do homeschooling, because you could teach your kids the good things. Now, there are going to be people in their own homes teaching kids the wrong things. Let's not mistake that. But to take control of the knowledge that is imparted on your child, because guess what? You are responsible for that. And as they grow and they get to a chance in society where they have to perform or get engaged with people out there in the world, if you've done the right thing, they're going to be equipped. But watch how many people fall off. And then I'll tell you this, when they begin to see the ratio of that, where people are teaching their children the BS at home and not giving them the good stuff at home, that's when they're going to come for your kids. Watch what I'm telling you. I give you a lot, but you can take it. I give you a lot, but you can take it. Next thing, Reggie, what you got, man?
Nah, that's all I got with that, man. I'm just bugged out, but I wish the sport gets rid of cornball analysts like that, because one thing when we speak about how the sport of boxing doesn't grow, a lot of times you can look right up at that commentating desk and see why. And a lot of times we don't see boxing grows when you look at the production side of stuff. When quality is low, the expectancy or the anticipation and people willing to come over and tune in, it dies and dwindle off. And that's the other thing, like when people talk about the UFC side of things is the one thing that gives life to the UFC is that it's worth watching. When you listen to the commentary over there, that cat Joe Rogan and what he has done for the UFC, he has been a major part in the growth of the UFC. Because what you get from that dude is you get education. He educates you on what's going on inside that ring. A lot of people have learned a lot about the damn UFC just from what Joe Rogan has spoken on. Now, he has his moments to where he becomes a little bit biased about having favorite fighters. But when he reports about what's being done inside that ring, what kind of moves people are in, certain ways to defend it, it adds interest into the sport, into the mixed martial arts side of things. And that's what the sport of boxing needs. They need better sports analysts that are over there. Even at one point, Jim Lampley and them were good at what they did at one point, and it adds to the excitement because on top of that, you need to be teaching people the history. And even when you used to watch HBO fights, they'll blend in little parts of history, little, in-depth details about the fighter, what the fighter comes from, what's going on. A lot of times you look back into these old fights and you learn a lot of history on these guys based on what Jim Lampley and them used to report. Now, when they reached the 2000, when the Europeans start coming along, they lost sight of what they used to be. And that ultimately started to kill off this sport. So a lot of times, what these networks need to do is go and seek people who better fit the programming, because what the zone is killing themselves off at, from one point, and many points they are, but at that commentating desk, they got too many clowns sitting on that desk up there. But that's my thoughts on that.
That's right. Salute to the Boxing King Archives with that super chat, man. He says, Cook, OG, respect to you and Reggie Owens. Thank you for your donation, man. We appreciate you supporting the channel, man, and appreciate you endorsing what you're hearing here this evening. Sorry, just have to tell it like it is, man. And so people, again, what I like to say is, if you really want to know something, take what I say and go check for yourself. That's the best way to find out, because I'm not ashamed to admit when I'm wrong or anything like that. But I take a lot of solace in the fact that I could come out here and share with you some truth about what I do know. Huh? And it's like, it's something that a lot of people don't challenge anymore. They don't challenge. They don't check the source. They just kind of take things and run with it or whatever. Huh? When you say about OG, hey man, it's about the old gems. Okay? It's about knowing what really went down. Okay? So yeah, that's what it's really about, man. But yeah, we can move on from that, Reggie. Earlier in the week, we had a situation where we had the son of Costa Zoo, man, where he came out and he had a match where he was taking on Bowie Morgan, and it was scheduled as a welterweight match. This guy here, Reggie, is the son of former world titleist Costa Zoo, and it looks like they're trying to position him to get an opportunity to fight for a title. But the thing about it is, will he be able to, live up to championship aspirations, or will they put him in a position where he has to learn something on the job? And that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking he's going to have to learn on the job. I don't know that Costa Zoo's son is championship caliber material. I've seen him out there in a couple of matches, and I noticed that he's missing a few things. He's missing a few things, but again, his dad has a name, and that's it. His dad having a name is one of those things that's going to help him. But I don't know. Have you seen him fight before, Reggie? Tim Zoo?
Yeah, I watched him fight. He just recently. I'm surprised to see him back in the ring. He recently. Wait, dang, wasn't recent, but he beat up Jeff Horn. He beat the brakes off of Jeff Horn, and he's an exciting fighter. He seems to have a lot of skill. But I think with him coming from out of the country he's coming from, which is not known for boxing, he has to probably use his father's name. And even in this current age, a lot of people don't know who his father is. But he has to try to make a name and a mark any way he can to kind of break into kind of this American side of boxing to get his name recognized here. And I think he's doing the right thing and probably put himself in the hunt, get himself in the mix with these other guys if he's willing. I think he's willing to not live up under who his father is. I think he wants to make a name for himself. And it's good to see him active as he is.
He looks a lot like his dad, too. He has his dad's face totally, almost just a little younger, and he's a little taller and bigger than his dad was. His dad was a short dude, like a fire plug. He's a little taller, but he's not as strong as his dad was. His dad was noted for his physical prowess. He was a very strong, stocky man with a very hard punch, a good right hand. But, yeah, in this fight that he fought this week, man, the opponent, Morgan, he wasn't really ready for him, Reggie. He was not. This was another one of those that I call a showcase fight, because Sue was in there, and like from the first time he threw a shot at the guy, he kind of caught him in his left hook or whatever, and he kind of moved the guy to the side. I was like, man, he's too strong for this guy. I can see this already. And it was just something. It didn't take long. It was early in the first round. I think that it took maybe 2 minutes. You know what I'm saying? And, I kind of got a little bit of it up there where people could see, but we ain't going to shh. I got a copyright disclaimer up there. But, yeah, he just, he's pushing the guy around already as soon as he lays his hands on him. And this is one of those things that you see where, when they match guys up in showcase matches, you're trying to show him off as something, right? And he's working under that. But as soon as somebody is able to box, stick him in his mug with a jab and some right hands and hooks and fight back, then we'll see what he has. But for right now, the guys that they're matching him up with, yeah, these guys, he's beating them up. Now, his fight against Jeff Horn, that really lets you know how limited Horn really is and how, beat up Horn is. Horn was a tough guy, a tough man. But tough does not, and I've said this so many times, tough does not equate to good. Okay? Just means that guys can take it and can be in there with you. But sooner or later, everyone has their measure, right? Where that comes to an end. And I think you've seen that with Mr. Horn, too. Just like you've seen it with Ndangu and a couple of other guys. It's just that, they have that maximum that they could take. And then after that, they fall off the cliff. It was like that for John the Beast Mugabe. He was beating the hell out of everybody before he got in there with Marvin Hagler. All those knockouts in his fights. Then he gets in there and has that war with Hagler, which that fight was very hard on Hagler as well. Took something away from him. But after that, Hagler was not the same. Nor was John the Beast. Terry Norris took him in one round. And the John the Beast that fought Terry Norris was nowhere near the same John the Beast that fought my man, what's his name, Terry Norris. It was two different individuals, man. So just let that be known right there. He wasn't the same guy. Wasn't the same guy at all. So, but yeah, Reggie, he had another showcase which got his name out there again before the end of the year. And that's what that's about. When you could use the marketing to your advantage like that, and going into next year, he'll be able to say, oh, he got plus X amount of fights in 2020, even though it was a bad year for the sport and everything. The guy was active, maybe fought 3 times or whatever. So, or 4, if I'm not mistaken, 3 or 4 times he fought this year. So at the end of the day, that's what he has going for him. And that's okay. That's okay. Because at the end of the day, he has that going for him. But I got something else going for him, and that's my man, Imantas Stanionis. That guy right there, Reggie, same weight class, and that's the man that people better be watching out for. Because I've been telling folks that they don't want to listen to me, but I've been telling they better keep their eyes peeled and their ears open for the rumblings and stumblings of this young fighter right here. This guy is the goods, and he's got good pedigree. He has good people around him and coaching him, and he's exciting. He's the kind of guy that breaks people down. He's not going to go out there and blast you out with a big power punch or whatever. But through attrition, working you, jab, got a powerful shotgun of a jab. He's got good combinations, great left hook to the head and body, hooks off the jab very well, knows how to cut the ring, and definitely works the body overtime. And he gets people out of there. In order to go 12 rounds with this young man, you have better have eaten your Wheaties, and you have better have gotten your conditioning in, and you better have your body in tip-top shape, because this young man right here is the kind of guy that run your behind out of that ring. What do you got to say about Imantas, Reggie?
Oh man, I think highly of the kid, man, because I like I was saying in that last fight, whoever's teaching him, they're teaching this kid proper boxing. Because when you look at him, he looks like a physically domineering cat, but the kid doesn't go in there. He's very intelligent the way he goes about his work, and his work is to just go in there and break you up. The jab is solid. He's pretty clean on defense and still growing at that. Keeps himself protected, and he mixes his punches up well. And as the fight begins to build, it's just it's a battle of attrition. It's who has the strongest will, and this kid's will is tremendous. And he's not a kid that goes in there and fights super reckless. And like I said, he's still cleaning up on a few things, but he's very, very sharp. And when he closes in on distance on you, but before he does that, it's all work off the jab, all work on the jab. Then he begins to go down and tearing you down to the body to break you down there. And they're teaching this kid properly, not rushing things, When he finds the opening, he knows when to open up to start to try to go for the kill. But his patience, along with his strength, and also being how strong he is, the kid got pretty great endurance. Being he can go into the deep rounds. I haven't seen fatigue from the kid. Seen his ability to be able to take a punch in the last fight. But the way he broke down Deloach, I was like, man, dang, this kid is something else. And then to watch him go in here and battling the kid, dang, what's the guy? I can't even think of the guy he just fought Wednesday. But to go in there and do what he did against this guy, and this is a guy who ended up being in there with Jamal James as well. So I want to see what Demontez is going to do moving forward, man. But I think there's a lot, and he is a guy that folks are going to have to watch out about. He's a strong kid who works effectively off of boxing, and he can also change it up. So I think he's a kid who has multiple gears along with being a strong fighter. So I think that can work greatly for that dude, being that he's not just a one-track pony when it comes to being inside that ring and fighting. And usually you see dudes built like that just being hookers and trying to be destructive to the body. But to see a guy like that who is built like a brawler, working effectively off of boxing, can deal with people of greater height and stuff with height, seems to be pretty comfortable dealing with taller fighters. And sometimes taller fighters have to watch out for smaller guys like that. But it's a guy who packs a lot with those punches. So I agree with you, man. He's somebody to watch out for in this kind of a prospect and contender class of welterweights.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And salute to my brother, Derek McGee, in that Cash App. Appreciate your donation, brother. Appreciate you supporting the channel and the grind, man. Really do. Yeah, Reggie, this young man, when he was in there this week facing Janir Gonzalez, you know, Gonzalez is not a chump. And he tried his best to hang in there and use his guile and experience, but he just got worn down, man. And Stanionis is the kind of fighter that you like to see, because he'll get those rounds in and he'll go. He's like that guy that blue collar, bring his lunch pail and go to work. And he has some boxing ability too. He's not a seek and destroy, hunt you down, get you out type guy. He's a break you down type guy. And I heard somebody in the chat mention Pool Counter Boxing. Salute to Pool Counter Boxing. He says he reminds of Spence. Exactly. Because that's how Spence goes about his business. And he breaks people down. He has a game plan that he follows. He goes after the guys in a workmanlike fashion, and he can turn it up. Same as this young man right here. And I saw him a couple of fights ago, and I started speaking his names. And even my man, salute to Lawrence Williams. I don't know if he's out there in the chat tonight or not, but Lawrence Williams is now sending me messages like, hey, Stormy, your boy coming on. And I'm like, yeah, good. Thanks for reminding me, because I want to see him. This is the kind of guy, take it from me. I'm telling you, when I suggest follow a guy, look out for him or whatever, it ain't going to steer you wrong, because I'm looking at the right things when you're talking about it. So if you want to compare that whole thing about how Spence goes like it with the workmanlike fashion and lunch pail, hard hat, I could go with that, definitely. And he's the type of fighter you want to see again. You want to see him again. Good fighter, bro. Good fighter. So, and he was able to break down a good fighter this week, you know, in Janir Gonzalez. Gonzalez is not an easy picking fight. You know, he's a guy, he has skill, he has experience and everything, and he has heart. Even when the fight was stopped, he didn't really want it to stop. He wanted to continue. But it was just one of those things where he was in there and it was like, wow. You know, he had enough. And the tank was just about empty. So, but yeah, that's another one there, Reggie, where this young man doing his thing. And I enjoyed watching him. I really did. So, you know, we got something also I wanted to touch on, Reggie. This whole thing about Vasily Lomachenko. You know, he's in the news again late this week. Had you heard what he was in the news for, Reggie?
Yeah, I was listening to Fred with Bob Arum today as well. And I don't know if you heard Bob Arum's answer to that.
I didn't catch that. I saw that it was on, but I was too busy trying to get some things together and then trying to get ready to watch the fight and all of that. So tell me what went down on Fred with this. And for those of you all who don't know, Vasily Lomachenko, he's having trouble, accepting that he was defeated by Teofimo Lopez. And now he's insinuating that Bob Arum may have had the judges in his pocket, so to speak, and made sure that Vasily wasn't going to have any type of chance in a decision victory against his fight against Teofimo Lopez. But I didn't see the judges chain Vasily Lomachenko's hands in his pockets for the first 6 rounds of the fight. So maybe it was somebody in Vasily's own camp that chained his hands, because he sure enough wasn't letting them go. And so therefore, to blame that on Bob, that he gave away those rounds at the early beginning of the fight, when Teofimo was gaining confidence round by round because he wasn't doing anything back in the championship fight, which was really a championship fight of the first note for Teofimo, since Vasily was the guy that they was telling you was the man, and the man didn't show up. So how is that Bob Arum's problem? But go ahead, Reggie, tell us what happened on Fred's show, man.
Yeah, so when it was brought up, man, and Bob, Fred asked Bob about what does he think about Vasily Lomachenko's, suggestion of the judges cheating out there. Bob's answer was to say that Vasily's been hanging around Deontay Wilder and coming up with these type of excuses, but not really addressing. And then Bob comes back to want to cover up for the sport that there's no such thing as cheating that happens within the sport, that the judges are all fair, the commissions are fair, blah, blah. And my thought is just like, man, this is dude that's part of this corruptive, the corruptive system within the sport of boxing. And he must protect every corrupter in the goddamn game, meaning commissioners, sanctioning bodies, judges, and referees. And it's funny that he makes that, because Bob is a walking contradiction, man. Anytime he answers something that's untruthful, you always have some proof to go right up to go about debunking everything he states. But because he'll make a statement that there's no such thing as cheating, but he just promoted a fight out of that Franco versus whatever it was, where the referee talked about he was head-butted, and they have no proof on it. So there was a clear sign of something going on within the sport of boxing. Same thing going on with the Dillian White, all these cover-ups. But he wants to say that this game of boxing is fair, and there's no such thing as cheating that goes on. And also, he wants to skim over. He didn't even want to touch on it. But this is also a dude who Bob Arum presents to the world as being the next great thing in boxing since Ali and whoever else he named for Vasily being better than. Now, Vasily suffers 2 losses. Let me not do the ESPN on y'all, but suffers 2 losses in his career. And he's coming out with some stuff about referees being bribed and all this other stuff. I wonder if he was saying that he bribed them and they didn't honor the money that he gave them, because he, like you said, he sat in that ring and didn't throw a punch for 7 rounds. So what does he expect? He didn't already cross the threshold of the halfway point, being 7 rounds are gone. How else can you win that fight if you don't knock somebody down or knock him out? So Vasily's just fooling himself. And then also on top of that, you sat idle for 7 rounds, and then you lose the 12th round. There's no way possibly for you to win the 12-round fight when you didn't sat around for, what'd that be, 8 rounds, and you lose in the 12th. So he's fooling himself. He's a dude who comes off a little bit too spoiled. And this is the problem when media crowns people before they have really reached the goal of achieving anything, to where when they suffer things like that, they didn't believe in the hype, they run off crying in the fashion that Vasily's talking about. And it's ridiculous that he'll cry like that when he knows he didn't give any effort in that fight until the fight crossed 1 round past the halfway mark. And he sounds foolish coming up with that. Then he wants to come up with a shoulder thing and wants to go on Instagram and post the surgery photos as if to act like it was the shoulder, and then down the line, here he comes with that. The thing with athletes, man, is sometimes defeat, especially athletes who have history of winning so much. This dude's an amateur, whatever they crown about his amateur career, 2-time Olympian, he ain't accustomed to losing that much. And this is the same thing with athletes all across the board. They suffer losses, they don't know how to deal with them, and they go into these kind of depressive states. And now he got Teofimo taunting him and going to run away from it. He may never touch one of these titles because now these young fighters have kind of shoot him out the way. So he's going to try to cry his way into things, but really he's embarrassing himself at this point.
Yeah, man, I agree with you, Reggie. And excuse me, the whole thing that this guy, but see, I'll tell you something. Excuse me. This came to mind as you were talking. This is what happens when you award people accolades and shower them and heap upon them praises that they did not earn. Okay? You talked about how good he was. You talked about he was the best thing since Ali, right? You talked about that nobody ever saw angles and the footwork and the movement and all of this, as if no fighters in history ever existed before this guy. And he's English not being his first language, he comes over here and he builds his name on that, right? And he got to thinking like, oh, my stuff really don't stink. They love me, huh? And then the first real competitive fight that meant something, where somebody was fighting him back, he didn't fight, he didn't put up. It's like, okay, he lost, and now his world is totally turned upside down because he done found out that somebody lied to him, Reggie. He done found out the truth, the real American way, huh? Where they act like they giving you something in trading and everything, right? And you look up and you get home and you got the smallpox, huh? That's what you got. And so Vasili's sick now. That's why I put this picture up here of him in the hospital in the bed with contraptions and everything all wrapped over his body. I didn't put a picture of him in the ring or training or standing there with his little old-time sweaters and stuff on like that. No, I put him laid up in a hospital bed because he's sick. He done found out, huh? Like a lot of people, when you snatch that curtain back and you see them standing back there in their underwear, and the underwear got holes in them and everything, and they're like, hey, turn the lights out. You know, that's that kind of thing. That's Vasily Lomachenko. That's what happened to him, and he deserves every bit of it, and every bit of his disgust and displeasure. He only got one person to blame, and that's the person that he see when he look in the mirror, because he tried to win everyone's accolades and everything off of that false narrative, okay? And Teofimo beat him. It's like that's it. He'll beat him again if they fought, but he ain't even. It's like he ain't even accepted the reality that he's old, huh? He's through, huh? He done ran away from the best of competition, which Teofimo wasn't, okay, and still got his butt whooped. And now he's looking to blame and point fingers and everything. He mad because he failed the exam, huh? But he got to get back to the back of the line because the titles go through people who can fight, huh? The titles go through people who can fight and people who can put it on them real thick and heavy. So he might as well think about finding another line of work. They talk about he like fishing or something like that. So maybe he ought to go up there in the icy mountains and do some fishing, because around here it ain't nothing but sharks. That's the real deal right there. So, and Bob Arum, if you didn't know Lomachenko, he throw you under the bus like nobody business. Matter of fact, Bob he don't only throw you under the bus, but he throw you under the bus where there's oil on the pavement, and then he do donuts and spin outs when he get in there behind the wheel and step on the gas. So congratulations, you just the latest, huh? and Bob been doing to people a long time. Goes all the way back to Ali's days. So yeah, you done got a taste of the real. You got anything else on him, Reggie?
Nah, that's all I got on him, man. He ended up, man, turning into a straight sucker, man. Straight up sucker, man. One loss, and this is the way he acting. Ali done been banned from the dang sport of boxing, and I don't think he came back acting like this. He pulled himself up, got back in there, and he proved who he was. Vasily, it's time for you to do the same thing. If that's who they're going to compare you to, then that's what you do. Ain't no white privilege is a fantasy to me, and it doesn't exist. And when these white fighters fall into that belief, ultimately this is what happens to them. And this is why I always make this point, even when I have a conversation with white folks who buy into that the white hyping of athletes. Ultimately, these athletes crash and burn from falling into that. There's no stars that hyped up by the media that people think anything about and care about. And like you spoke with Jerry Cooney, he didn't buy into that stuff. He went out there and he proved himself rather than having the media to do all the groundwork while these dudes just give in a quarter of what everyone else has to do just to be even recognized, not even to be called great. So Vasily, it's time for you to pick it up. 14 fights and they want to crown him as a legend. 14 fights, he suffers one loss and he's crying. Like, I mean, go figure, man. But that's all I got.
Yeah, man. Boxing, I'm telling you, man, makes people do some wicked things, bro. Some wicked things at the end of the day, man. But hey, Reggie, it's time for us to get to what is going to fast become a favorite segment of the show, man, where we get to talk about the thunderous top 10. That's right. We bringing it back. It was off for a couple of weeks. We had a couple of fights take place. And I decided, Reggie, that I was going to hold fast to the rankings here in the thunderous top 10. Stormyman's thunderous top 10. For those of you who are not in the loop, this is a ranking, what I consider a power ranking of the sport of boxing, where we have the names that are on the list are the people who are most impactful on the sport, you know, with their performances as well as, you know, what they mean in the sport as they are amongst the top in the game. It has nothing to do with pound for pound, because even with pound for pound lists, people just kind of like get that all screwed up and everything. As you notice, there are no heavyweights on here, but there are heavy hitters on here. When I say heavy hitters, we're talking about those who contribute to the sport in a manner of which, you know, when they fight, they do some good things. And when I say when they fight, because if you look at number 10 there, Gary Russell Jr. still holding on by a thread at number 10. He ain't fought all year, but I'm going to tell you something. Gary Russell Jr. can fight, bro. He can fight. And he's one of the guys that I have respect for, and I want to see him out there. But it looks like he's dealing with some outside forces in the sport that may be very influential. I kind of understand it from a different vantage point now. And I'm sorry to say, but it's almost like a blacklisting type of deal that's going on with Gary Russell. And I don't know how he's going to get himself out of this situation. And it may be, you know, early packing it in for him. But Reggie, I'll let you go ahead and give us your thoughts on the list and each individual starting from 10 going on up through 1. And, you know, you don't have to be in agreement with me, but just for the sake of us having a conversation about the list, let us know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, for the list, like I said, I agree with the top 2, 3.
Remember, we said we're working from 10 up to 1. So,
all right, for number 10, you already know me and Gary Russell. I can't put Gary Russell in the top 10. Everything else, I rock with. I would like to see Beterbiev. I would like to see him above Inoue. And everything else on the list is solid. Everything else is super solid on the list. And I like where Jermell Charlo is. A lot of people probably question that, but Jermell Charlo has proven himself within this game of boxing and proven himself in great fashion, man. Very, very exciting fashion, what she has proved himself. So I can definitely agree with him. I wouldn't even mind seeing him at number 1. But yeah, everything else I like with the list. Except, man, that questionable number 7, though. But everything's good on that one, OG. I like the list.
Yeah. Well, let me go. I'll come up from Gary. I've already made a comment about him. Number 9, Artur Beterbiev is a fighter that I really want to see more of, and we would have possibly seen him in October as a first comeback fight for the year, but he's been dealing with some injuries, which now he's been postponed to either January or sometime in February that he will return, because we were a week away from him fighting on that heavy October ESPN roster, and he suffered some kind of injury in training. So he'll be back in the first quarter of the year, early portion of the year. And this is a man who, when he fights, he's kind of like George Foreman of the light heavyweight division or whatever. He's a guy, when he puts his hands on people, man, they go away, Reggie. And his classic fight against Gavaskit, who was being trained by Teddy Atlas, man, he just totally dismantled Gavaskit and made Gavaskit want to quit. And there was the famous fight where Teddy was telling him, we're firemen and we don't quit and we don't do this and that. And Gavaskit was telling Teddy, like, man, you crazy as hell. I want to get out of here with this guy. And Beterbiev, he has punching power in both hands. He's definitely the type of guy that's a crowd-pleasing fighter. He may be limited on boxing ability because we haven't seen him do a lot of boxing. But when he puts hands on people, he's very brutal. He's kind of like a guy like Stanionis in a sense that he breaks people down, but he's just so strong. He reminds me of fighters from an older era who were just brutally strong, even when they didn't have the most technical of skill or whatever. And I'm not trying to say he doesn't have technical skill. I'm just stating the fact that he gets a lot out of his physicality. And today's boxing, sometimes that's more than enough, because a lot of guys don't have tremendous conditioning. A lot of guys don't have tremendous will. A lot of guys don't have tremendous boxing ability. So sometimes when you're just strong and crude and you have strong will and you're in good condition, you can become a champion and you can beat a lot of guys. So it's one of the reasons that Mr. Beterbiev finds himself at number 9 in my ranking here of the Thunderous Top 10. Now, number 8, Naoya Inoue. This young man convinced me, Reggie, in his last outing against Maloney that he has a little bit more than we've been giving him credit for. And I think we saw flashes of it in the Super Series tournament when he faced what's his name? The Filipino Flash. Nonito, thank you. Man, having these brain farts with the names sometimes. Yeah, but when we saw him against Nonito, because Nonito used a lot of experience against him, he didn't try to go heads up physical with him, even though Nonito is a bigger guy, but this guy is a devastating puncher. And that cut that he suffered in that fight also limited him. But in the later portion of the fight, Reggie, he was still throwing punches with bad intentions, but he was now boxing his way through that fight, because I don't think that he felt like just being physical with Nonito was going to be everything that would get him over the hump. So that's why I said I thought we saw flashes in that fight against Nonito. But in his fight against Maloney, He hit Maloney earlier in the fight with a couple of punches that let me know he can get rid of this guy. But you know what he did? He settled down in the boxing, Reggie, and he started just setting things up. He's hitting him, he's jabbing with him, working the body a little bit, placing his shots and everything. And then when he took him out with that 1-2 in, what was that, the 8th round, when he hit Maloney with that shot, Maloney never saw it coming and couldn't recover. It was like his knockout power in the later rounds was definitely there, but he used patience, Reggie. He was patient in that. He didn't go wild like a Tasmanian devil trying to just get the guy out of there. He showed patience. He showed confidence. He showed the ability to take a fight deep with a guy and box with a guy. But at any given time, he may knock your block off. He's the real deal. As Mexican fight fan MXBC says, he is the real deal. So I have him in there at number 8 because I don't think of him as in the top 4. But he's got more to do, and I want to see more of him. But he belongs in the top 10 of the Thunderous top 10. At number 7, a gentleman that we're going to see this weekend, tomorrow night, as a matter of fact, Saul Canelo Alvarez. He who is bouncing around divisions like a basketball that has left the court. You know what I'm saying? It's just this guy here, if he could ever settle down where he can at a decent weight and fight somebody legit at a decent weight, maybe we could find out how really good he is. I am of the notion that he is a good fighter. He has skills. He might be one of the more skilled fighters in boxing today. But he does have a problem with fighters who are athletic and who have good footwork. So the Achilles for him is that. And he's staying away from those guys. But see, to be an all-time great, you got to take it all on. You can't pick and choose like you picking stuff off of your plate that you don't want to eat and everything. This is boxing. And sometimes the road toward greatness, there exists a person that you got to figure out a way to defeat him that's standing in your path. And I don't like the fact that a lot of the fighters today are avoiding that. They're avoiding it ad nauseum because they want easiness. Well, there's nothing easy about being punched in the face, bro. You know what I mean? For a living. So it's like sometimes the old saying in the streets used to be, you got to bring some to get some, right? In a battle. Well, it's the same thing in boxing. You got to bring it to get it. And Canelo has had his pick of who he would like to mix it up with as opposed to who he needs to mix it up with. You know? And it's fighters like Miguel Cotto that I wish Miguel hadn't dealt with the hardships that he did with that whole thing with Margarito and everything, because I do think that took something off of the edge of Miguel, and Miguel would have been a different type fighter against the likes of Pacquiao, Mayweather, and including Canelo Alvarez, had he not gone through the hardships of that situation with Margarito. But that being said, Canelo, number 7, just outside of number 5, outside of the top 5, and I don't think he deserves to be in the top 5 unless he go ahead and face someone like he should be facing. Just like this fight against Smith tomorrow night, and we'll get into that. You know, I'll save my points of who he should be fighting and everything for when we talk about that. But he should not be in the top 5 from 5 up. He should not. He should definitely be after 5 down because of how he's decided to pick and choose through these circumstances. Now, at number 6, strongly, who's up a few points from a few weeks back before his battle against Leo Santa Cruz, is Gervonta Tank Davis. Tank Davis is the type of fighter that everybody who watches boxing would like to see in the ring, because you know something exciting is going to happen when Tank Davis is in there. He just has that type of charisma, the fire that's on him that draws people, whether you want to see him lose or if you're a supporter of him being victorious. He's that type of guy. And sometimes when fighters have that, they just have it. It's like it's the paying public and the viewing public who put that support behind that individual out there. And just like, you know, where he has fought, arenas have sold out, people have bought tickets. It's like they like the little guy. You understand? And he can perform. And he has something that a lot of people like to see, and that is knockout proclivity. He has the ability to go out there and end the fight suddenly. And people love that in the sport of boxing. Just like the other night when we were talking about home run hitters in baseball. It's like you go to a baseball stadium to watch a baseball game, but you love it even more when you see your favorite player out there knocking a few out of the park. You know what I mean? That makes it, even if they lost and your guy hit 2 home runs that night, it's like, man, at least we got to see so-and-so, you know, knock some out of the park. So that's what Tank brings when he fights. Number 5, Jermall Charlo. Sadly, no one in the sport of boxing that either has a pound for pound list, Ring Magazine, any of these boxing scribes out here or whatever, want to acknowledge this man's accomplishments in the sport and the potential that he has in the sport. Jermall Charlo, a 2-division champion, had a title at 154 just like his brother, and now at 160 has a title that he was awarded instead of being in the position to fight for it, because again, Canelo vacated that and became some kind of a franchise champion or whatever. Instead of being able to fight him for the belt, they award the guy the belt. But it's not Jermall's fault, huh? And his victory over Sergey Derevyanchenko kind of speaks volumes over what Derevyanchenko was able to do to Triple G, okay? And you look at Jermall and that punishing jab that he has, that thing right there can win you a lot of fights. Now, I will say this about Jermall. He doesn't have the best of footwork. He doesn't have that athletic footwork that gives a fighter like Canelo problems. So a fight between the two of them would be a tighter fight than many people know and realize. But he's a strong man at the weight, just like Canelo is strong. He's a guy that has a hell of a trainer behind him in Ronnie Shields, and he listens to Ronnie Shields. And I think that they would relish that challenge, because I think that Ronnie could give him the type of game plan that will really put Canelo in a bad situation. But it's not a cakewalk for Jermall to face a fighter like Canelo, because Canelo's experience alone, I mean, he's got some tricks in the bag. He really does. And that thing that he does when he feints a shot at one area and then comes over with a different shot, like he did with Amir Khan, and also when he did with what's his name, the James, what's his name, Reggie?
Oh, Kirkland.
Yeah. When that feint, you know, he's got that down pat. So Jermall will have to watch out for that, because he could get caught with that, and we find out how good his chin really is. Although we do think he has a sturdy chin, but when you get caught with a shot you don't see, man, that's when it can be debilitating. At number 4, I got Josh Taylor, the winner of the Super Series, and the guy who turned back a tremendous challenge in Regis Prograis, looking to make his debut very soon over here and fight somebody. But Josh Taylor is a good fighter, Reggie. He can box. He's very tough. He's strong. He's the type of fighter that you look at him and you think he's beatable. And you get in there with him and you find out that this dude is a tougher go-round than you may have thought. You know, it was kind of like Kelly Pavlik. Kelly Pavlik looked like a guy that you could easily defeat, you know, because he's long and he got a jab. He looks like he boxed, but he looked like he was, you know, took some shots and stuff. So he looked vulnerable. But Taylor is a good fighter. And his last outing, when he dropped that young guy, that Thailand guy with that body shot, it didn't really show anything. It was a first round knockout and everything. But the fact that he was able to hit that guy with that shot like that, because he's a veteran fighter and he knows how to punch and place his punches, that's all he needed. You would have thought that that guy got a broken rib or something from the way he responded to that body shot, which we never heard anything else from him, and he probably did. So Josh Taylor, I think he holds fast right there at number 4. Now at number 3, Earl Spence Jr. The reason that Earl is at number 3 there, even though he has come back and soundly defeated Danny Garcia, the thing about Earl is this: he's still got business to do at welterweight. He's got maybe a lineup of Sean Porter in a rematch, possibly Manny Pacquiao, or even a shot with Terrence Bud Crawford for some type of supremacy there at that weight. But at number 3, I consider that is just, you know, it's a formality until he finishes his work there. Number 2, Jermell Charlo. Jermell Charlo is a hell of a fighter, and he is the type of fighter now that I think that he's going to be a great at that weight class. He can finish cleaning it out. There may be some unfinished business there with he and Hurd. There may be some unfinished business with him and even Lubin again, or even a third fight with Harrison, which again, even though defeats over those guys have already given him favor, this man here, I respect him so much, Reggie, because he has proven to me that he can win every kind of way possible. He can come from behind. He can beat you in a decision. He can knock you out with any punch: left hook, right hand, uppercut, jab. We've seen it. He has a decent chin. He has just enough lateral movement and everything that keeps him safe. And then he can box. He also carries his power from the first round to the 12th round, just as Tony Harrison. And the thing about it is, Reggie, I don't think we've seen him at his best yet. That's scary right there. And that's why I have him right there at number 2. It's going to take a hell of a man to beat him, and I want to be right there to watch it, every challenge. Number 1, I got Bud Crawford. Bud Crawford, at this particular time, there's a lot of negative press on him and everything like that, and a lot of it for his own doing. I will readily admit that. But for an accomplished man who has come up from several divisions to where we have him at welterweight, he is one of the most complete boxers in the sport, being able to box in close, from the outside, mid-range. He could switch from orthodox to southpaw. He has very good lateral movement. He has proven durable. He has proven to be a fighter who can rise to occasions. That's the thing that is a very underrated aspect for Bud Crawford, is I believe that every time he's in there with someone that is supposed to pose some type of threat to him or whatever, he's capable of either equaling or surpassing that. Now, mind you, if people weren't so regional minded and everything like this, there would be a lot more love for what Bud has done in the ring. Or if there were a couple of people, even on this list, who didn't exist, Bud would be fan favorite. You understand? But that is not it in today's social media run society. So all of that being said, his accomplishments, having moved up and been the best from wherever he is, wherever he was, to arriving to where he is, I only think that in the ring, he can prove it. He's one of the only guys that I think on this list that you can put back in a different era and you could see almost the same type of efforts out of him. So, and I'll just take this last statement about Freddie Roach when asked about Bud Crawford facing Manny Pacquiao many years ago, and he said, I don't like that fight for Manny. He was like, because Crawford can do everything that Floyd could do, plus turn southpaw. That came from Freddie Roach. So take from that what you will. But I thought that I would give an enlightening aspect for what the Thunderous top 10 is with me currently at this time. And mindful, anyone out there listening, that the Thunderous top 10 can change at any time. This is not something rock solid that Stormy has put out there, but it's the consideration of the fighters who are listed and the performances and how they can be either climbing or declining within this, or even fall off the list altogether. So that's why I call it the Thunderous top 10, as impactful participants in the sport of boxing and how their impact affects the sport. So that's what this is all about, man. But that's what I have for you there on that list. So any final thoughts on that, Reggie?
Oh no, you laid that out to the T, real detailed on that one, and I got no rebuttal to that.
Yeah. But and I like to be able to explain, what I put out there like that or whatever is. And me, you've talked to me long enough. It's not about a love fest with me with fighters. You know what I mean? I do believe in putting them in their wares and their positions and things like that respectfully. You know what I mean? So that's what I have to offer. But as we move forward, we're going to get on into this discussion, Reggie, about tomorrow night's fight with Canelo and Smith. This fight right here, I don't know, Reggie. It's like, why do we have to deal with this with Canelo, man? And he picks these guys, and wasn't it Smith's brother that he just beat a few fights ago too? I just thought about that today because they had the weigh-in. And they both weighed in at 168.
I'm not sure, man.
Huh?
You talking about the Liam cat or something like that?
Yeah, Liam. I'm not sure. Liam, isn't that his brother?
I don't know. That's what I don't know.
I think it is. I think Liam is his brother. And Canelo fought him already. So it's like he going to beat up both the brothers? Man, that's kind of harsh right there. Because, I don't know. I feel they saw something in Caleb that they Callum, or whatever his name is, Callum Smith, right? I think they saw something, meaning Canelo and his camp, in this guy that they can exploit, because that's what they look forward. They look to exploit someone instead of looking for the quality of the opposition. What can I look really good doing against this guy? What position can I be in? And that's what it is here. If Smith could really go into this fight and utilize good boxing, utilize his ability to control range and distance, and have some pop on his punches and everything, this could end up kind of bad for Canelo. But I don't know if he has that in him. And maybe that's what the Canelo camp knows. Because remember, Reggie, and when we're talking about boxing camps, word gets around like wildfire. You know what I mean? It's like you hear word from the gym. Remember, they were talking about Danny Dubois having dropped Anthony Joshua in the gym long before it actually got revealed. You know what I mean? And it was like, but maybe he's heard something about this guy. Even when he was preparing for his brother, this could have been something that they were looking forward to down the line, and we just didn't know it, Reggie. So that's one of the things that I just kind of like wanted to point out, because it just seems to me, you know, it's just like the Kovalev fight. We knew he went into that with handicaps and whatnot, right? And it's like you knew that if you read into the fact that Kovalev had all those deals, if he were to lose the fight, remember you did a huge covering of that. It's like he had a TV deal with the Zone. He was, you know, he could have won so much money, this and that, if he lost, right? So where's the incentive for victory? You know? And then we were talking about Canelo at that time as well. So it's like, come on, man. I don't know. But what are your thoughts on this, Reggie?
My thoughts, I hope this dude pull an upset. Like, I'm looking at this dude. This dude, the towering giant compared to Canelo. It's like, remember Sammy Davis Jr. and Wilt Chamberlain got that video, the little sketch. That's what it sort of looked like, man. This dude almost about 7 inches taller than Canelo, and I mean, long reach. He should be in here to make a name for himself. I mean, there's so much on the line that he can benefit from this one. But the thing with British fighters, I don't really trust them fully. It's only been one British fighter I trusted, and that's been Lennox Lewis. The other ones, I just don't know if I can trust this Callum Smith. I'm hoping he can pull it off, because I want to see some changes within the sport of boxing, man. I would definitely want to see changes. And hopefully he can pull it off, but I doubt it. I think he's going to go in here and pull a Rocky Fielding to lay down. And I was looking, he is the brother that Liam Smith. Can he avenge his brother's knockout? I mean, come on, Colin, you got to do something for us, man. You got all these advantages. Dude reaches like about 8 inches. Heck, his reach 70 inches longer than Canelo's. He about 3 feet taller than Canelo. He ought to go in here and stomp on Canelo. But we know we ain't going to get it, man. They setting up all sorts of stuff. These advantages they get at Canelo, I mean, it's bugged out. But I would like to see – I like Canelo, but I just don't like the way he moves. I like Canelo as a fighter because he's gifted, he's skilled. I just don't like when I see fighters that get advantages like this. They cheat the sport, and not only do they cheat the sport, they cheat themselves. He should be getting more up out of this, and then to go up here and try to capture a title in the trash way that they're able to get it. Same way you wondering how Triple G is a champion again after suffering a loss. They're about to make Canelo a champion in here fighting for one of these vacant titles again, and it's just crap. So I would like to see him go up here, trying to make a maneuver, and get dusted. And I know that's a kind of a long reach for a wish. But I'm wishing that's what happened. I'm going for it. But looking at the physical advantages that this guy has, hopefully he goes in here and use it. If I see him following him forward, trying to bang with Canelo, I'm going to know it's a fixed fight. But that's my thoughts on that one.
Yeah, you made some good points too there, Reggie, because I'll tell you something, man. With all those advantages, right, watch something jacked up happen. Like, why was he doing that? It's like, you know, I don't know, man. It's like, can we at least hope? Hey, it's like, and you know what it is too? It's not even about watching Canelo get beat, right? Yes, it is. But it's about seeing somebody compete with the dude, because he do look vulnerable in some instances. And we do know what his limitations and shortcomings are. But is boxing that piss poor that people can't get in there and they see stardust in their eyes or something and be like, oh, I'm not supposed to beat him? You know, it's like, what the hell is really going on? When is somebody going to be like, man, I saw that silk shirt he was wearing at the weigh-in. That sucker cost some money, man. Let me go in there and knock this sucker out so I can get some of that bread. You know what I mean? It's like, when are they going to wake up, bro? When are they going to wake up? I don't know. But, hey, dude, it's something else, man. But we'll be tuning in, and we'll have to hear those announcers. Oh, look at the angles that he's giving. Oh, what a great counterpunch by Alvarez. You know, we'll see that. We'll hear it. Unless Callum is like, hey, man, you know what? You beat my brother. You know, you got me over here, you know, and you brought me, you cherry picked me, you know. Take this, sucker, you know. Maybe we'll get to see that. Every once in a while. It happens. Every once in a while. Like every 1,000 years. It happens. So, but yeah, man. We can only hope, Reggie. But yeah, man. We got tomorrow also a fight that's taking place that would allow us to see the return of Jaron Boots Ennis. And he's taking on a familiar face and name in Chris Van Heerden. Now, this fighter hasn't fought in a while, Reggie. I think a couple years, Van Heerden. And then we do remember him from when Earl Spence punched him up a few years back. But let me tell you something, man. Ennis, this is a showcase for him because they drugged this guy out of the bar to face Ennis. And I know a lot of guys don't want to face Ennis right now. At least that's what the sentiment is, right? But I will say the original opponent was Thomas Delorme, I believe. And then he came down with COVID or something like that. And so now that took that fight off the table. And I think that Delorme was the type of fighter that would have given him a better challenge. What are your thoughts of this fight going in, Reg?
Oh, wait, I start to break up on my end. What was your the last few words you said?
No, I was saying Delorme was originally the fighter he was supposed to face. But you know, this replacement in Van Heerden, what I think that Delorme would have been a better fight and opponent for Ennis at this stage in his career. What are your thoughts on that being Delorme as opposed to Van Heerden, who is basically here as a showcase for Jaron?
I think it's crap because I'm also looking at, I see it's some type of title because I went to BoxRec to look up you know, last time I seen Van Heerden, but Jaron's been pretty active. I like that side about him, but to fight this type of challenge for title position, I think is trash. That's the one aspect I don't like about the sport of boxing. This should just be a regular boxing match for him to be in here against a guy to keep active, to showcase his you know, talents, his styles, his abilities against this dude who we know is going to come here. He's going to come in here and wash. But hopefully, but the one thing I would like to kind of measure with this one is how serious he takes this fight. Does he knock all that playing around stuff, go in here, break this guy down, and try to get him up out of here? Because he shouldn't be in here doing full-time duties inside this ring. No overtime work in this fight against Van Heerden. I think with Jaron's skills from how I view him and analyze him in this matchup, he shouldn't be going a full 12-round fight against this guy Van Heerden unless he's playing around with his food. Hopefully he doesn't come in here and do what we watch Chris Colbert do, which we also watch what he does in fights. He just goes in here and get a guy up out of here and you know, in spectacular fashion, because that's what fans want to see and will be more attracted towards becoming Ennis fans rather than him showcasing and style and trying to look cool and stuff. A lot of times they think that sells, but a lot of times that turns a lot of fans away from him. So hopefully he goes in here, completes the mission, stay focused, and do what his father tells him and cut a lot of the clowning stuff out. But that's my thoughts on it, man. But a title, that's why these belts don't mean nothing.
Yeah, they're fine. They're like, hey, wait a minute, that fight doesn't have a title belt on the line. Okay, hey, Joe, bring that belt that's back there, blow the dust off of it, and you know, it's like, dude, when are they gonna stop doing this foolishness, man? Bringing all these doggone belts out there, man. I mean, it's just ridiculous at this point. You know, they just continue to do that, and the sport isn't getting any better as a result of it. They need to stop it, man. They really do. It's a belt for everything now. It's like non-title belts got a belt on the line. It's like they need to stop it, bro. They really do. But I don't know if you answered this part of that question, Reggie, about Delorme. What are your thoughts of it had it been Delorme, as the opponent for this night? What are your thoughts about that?
That'd been a great test for him because Delorme, he comes to fight. Delorme, one of these lay down type cats, even when he's outmatched by a fighter, he still's going to give it his all. He's going to give it his all going into a fight. And I want to see what Delorme had a fight, I think this year, and where he really showed himself, and he showed where his will is so strong, where it takes everything to get him up out of a fight, and he really showed tremendous heart into getting the victory in that fight. And I think that's what he will push with a Jaron Ennis. And even when he fought Crawford or whatnot, he tried to give it his all against Crawford, even though Crawford being that much further skill talent than him, it doesn't Delorme from trying to give it his all. He's a guy who's going to bring it. And I think that would have been a great test to see if Jaron Ennis is really the guy we see him to be, because you have to start gradually stepping him up. And I think that would have been good. But unfortunately, that was Delorme end up, like you said, pulling out from an injury. But I would love to see that fight.
Yeah. Yeah. And hopefully, when he gets past this, because he will get past this, I'm sure. But, early next year, they should, when Delorme is well, they should still give him that fight. You know what I mean? So let's see that happen. But I think like for the last couple of minutes there, Reggie, let's have a little conversation about the fighter that is Anthony Joshua, man. This dude right here, man, I'm sure you heard the news and the latest on him, and the fact that he's talking about the belt's not really meaning anything, and it's the fighter and all of that crap. But stuff we've been saying, right? But he's saying it for a different reason now, because it's looking now like that the fight that he wanted to have for those belts for Undisputed with Tyson Fury, there may be some kind of imposing factor that won't allow that to happen due to maybe unfinished business between Fury and the Wilder camp. But that being said, Eddie Hearn is coming out saying some things that don't necessarily align up with what Joshua is saying. And at the end of the day, it speaks volumes about where the sport is when you have guys who are fighting with narratives, and it's funny how they were quick to want to make unification when Fury got a victory over Wilder, but they weren't thinking about that before Wilder, and then when they did mention Wilder's name, they would only mention Wilder when Wilder had a fight scheduled and he's in a camp ready, preparing for whoever his opponent is, whether it was Ortiz at one point, whether it was Brazil at one point, whether it was Fury at 2 points, so it's like they only pretended as if they were interested in that type of arrangement. But at the same time, you hear Eddie Hearn saying the stuff he's saying, you hear Anthony Joshua saying the stuff he says, and it just sounds like a bunch of crap, listening to these guys. So I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts on this? And I know that sometimes you do little short videos and stuff, but I didn't see you talking about this one. So I'll give you the floor and let you explain what your sentiments are when it comes to this.
Yeah, man. Man, I don't understand AJ. When I look at it and him talking about, I've been hearing there's a possibility of him speaking about dropping the belts and this and that. From that aspect, I wouldn't mind seeing these dudes let go of these belts. And that's to send a strong message across the sport of boxing. But ultimately, I don't want to see Tyson Fury getting the opportunity to bypass a Deontay Wilder. But in that same light, I would not mind watching both of these dudes let go of these titles to teach a message that these belts don't mean nothing. They have no structure because they want to go and get these last fights to secure themselves financially. I don't think Anthony Joshua has any. I don't think Joshua Hart is in this sport. He wants to try to remain with just a one-loss fighter. He really doesn't want to take these other challenges. I even think he may be afraid of Usyk and the fact that he will turn away from that fight. He's not going to let the sanctioning bodies hold him away from a fight that's more beneficial to him financially than the Usyk fight. A Usyk fight brings nothing, but that could be the same for the Povetkin fight. But people looking at Usyk being undersized, heavyweight, I mean, I don't know what it does for AJ from that type of mindset. And him letting go of the belt to not bring on a unification, it just shows that money is more important than what it is with legacy, because it ain't that the fighters have broken this. These sanctioned bodies have dirtied up the game. They've dirtied up this game so bad that letting these belts go mean nothing. I think these top fighters are the best of the best in these divisions mean more than trying to bring about that lineage stuff, because that lineage stuff is gone until you can get rid of Mauricio Suleiman and all these other bodies that are coming in here, the IBOs, get rid of that type of stuff. I mean, the game isn't worth holding on to a belt, and but I want them to do that. I want them to do that, but not to say that I want him to step foot on getting a fight before Wilder, but just from the statement that will make if these dudes let these belts go just to go and battle each other, it'll send shockwaves through the sport, and it will cause them sanctioning bodies to clean things up so they don't have. Where this starts to become the norm, where fighters decide, like, I don't need a belt. I'm gonna take this guy. This is more beneficial because there's no structuring within the system. None of these organizations have a structure to them. These belts are devalued. They don't mean nothing. Anybody can get a hold of them. So why hold on to it? And that's my thoughts. But I really don't think AJ's trying to stay in this game too much longer. I think he's going to walk away from it. Him dealing with the public pressures get to him, even following that fight to where he really didn't want to conduct an interview. He didn't want to answer certain statements. He didn't want to bring up certain thoughts, to where he had them kind of ease in the questions. And that also, with him not speaking on it, allowed them to ease in the avoidance of one particular name in the heavyweight division, that being Deontay Wilder. But I think he's going to get that quick cash out, and he's on his way up out this game. His heart ain't in him no more. And even matter of fact, I just want to touch on that. In that Povetkin fight, even though he ended up tearing through Povetkin, he showed that something isn't right with him. He done regressed a lot. He was very hesitant in that fight. There wasn't a lot of activity and volume being placed in that fight. He fought it kind of safe. He's just testing out, trying to get that one punch in there, hopefully to rock this dude, and then that's when he steps on it. Even when he finished the Povetkin to get up, he wouldn't go right back after Povetkin. He went back into being very cautious about it. These other fighters, he can't go about doing that, but I don't think he's going to be here too much longer.
Yeah, he trying to get up out of there before Wilder get back on track, because he knows that talk will resume. It'll get started again. Everybody know that there's unfinished business between the Wilder camp and the Fury camp, because they did have contractual obligations and whatnot. It's funny because when Wilder lost, I'm sure he felt relieved, but he doesn't have confidence in reigning. Remember, I've talked about this, right? I've talked about guys can win titles. They can win titles before, they even learn how to fight. That's what's happening. Look at that guy Rolly, right? But anyway, AJ got to a point and he thought it was, oh, this is sweet. And he thought that, they could keep Wilder at the door. And when Fury threw the wrench into that thing, it was like, oh, he was relieved. But in the meantime, don't forget, he lost too. And the fight that he lost against the little short dude who was kind of pudgy and had some fast fists, you know, that whole thing right there wasn't supposed to happen. Remember, AJ been on the cover of magazines, fitness and everything. And then this guy who looked like he was in a Burger King commercial, looked like, you know, the dude next door across the street, right? Whooped his behind. Now, that tore down all of this fable about muscles and all of that. Because remember, AJ was like the guy that they were marketing like that, right? His workouts and stuff. They had that, like, if anybody here old enough to remember when Evander Holyfield first moved up to the heavyweight division, he was like a high-tech heavyweight. He was doing stuff in the gym with weights and different things as he had moved up from cruiserweight. And it was kind of like a new thing, but it didn't really catch on, but it was like a new thing. Well, we're years beyond that now. And so the focus of AJ in the gym, a lot of the times, if you saw him working out in the gym, he wasn't even doing boxing workouts. He was doing like cross-training workouts. Huh? And it was like, you know, everything except for boxing, right? And he put on all that muscle, got kind of heavy. He was like damn near 270 pounds with muscle. But all that came crashing down. And remember, going into the rematch with Ruiz Jr., he asked one of those reporters giving him an interview, he was like, do you think I'm going to win? Dude, I've never heard a professional fighter ask a question like that and really understand what he means. I've heard even Ali ask, who you got? You know what I mean? That kind of thing. But that wasn't what AJ was doing. He was looking for some kind of reassurance off of a journalist. He was like looking like, do you think I could do it? You know, that kind of thing with doubt. That's not good. And then the way he fought was not good, because people say, yeah, he won the belt back. And, you know, even in the post fight, he's two-time and all of that foolishness, right? But the way he fought, Reggie, he fought like Andy Ruiz's body was a towering inferno, and that his gloves, every time he went to touch him, were burning or got fire on him or something. And he stayed away from the guy and he moved and he did the things that, but he never engaged and he never looked to ensure the victory. He didn't try to even knock out Andy Ruiz. He didn't even try, but he played keep away. And that to me was a mental setback at the championship level, because you can't fight everybody like that. But what they managed to do was find another Andy Ruiz in his most recent fight in Kubrat Pulev, because Kubrat Pulev can't fight and is a 39-year-old fighter who hasn't been very active, who doesn't know what to throw after a jab, and doesn't hardly throw the jab in a fight where he's fighting a bigger man like AJ. So there were so many things going unquestioned that the doubt is still there as far as what you're perceiving, and the doubt is still within him as far as how he's performing. He fought like a scared man in there. And the punches that he hit Kubrat with, Kubrat was available. That should have been a first round or second round knockout, that fight. And it wasn't. And it wasn't because AJ wasn't confident in his own ability. If Danny Dubois hadn't lost to Joe Joyce and he was in there with Kubrat Pulev, he would have had an easier time excuse me, against Kubrat Pulev than he did against Joe Joyce, and would have performed better against Kubrat Pulev than AJ did, because that man goes in with bad intentions, and he hadn't lost, and he was that kind of aggressive guy. AJ has regressed, like you said, And he's looking like a guy who, if he sticks around, he gonna get beat again. And it don't have to be one of the top guys to do it. I think Dillian White might be able to get him right now. That's one of the reasons why they haven't really talked that up. Remember, that's a good fight between them because they have a history, right? And they have a story between them. They don't like each other. They have amateur experience. They have professional experience. It's like, okay, let's do it again. It's a good UK fight, right? They're not doing it because they don't want Dillian White to be the unified heavyweight champion of the world. They don't want that. They'd rather give it to this other guy who's coming up there, and that's Usyk. And AJ probably is fearful of Usyk because of Usyk's background. You know, he was undisputed at cruiserweight. He has a successful amateur career. He has the ability to box. You understand? He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he can box. He's got skills. And that's the kind of thing that will frighten a guy like AJ. Because AJ doesn't have a lot going for himself. He's just a big old dude. Let me lastly say this as an example. Do you remember Reggie being in high school? And there was always this dude in high school. He could have been tall as you know what, or he could have been big as strong as you know what. And you say, man, are you on the basketball team? Or you on the football team? And the guy's like, no, man, I don't play football. I don't play basketball. You're like, what? Man, you big old lurch looking dude. You should be on the team, man. You should be playing center or something, right? It's like you got those guys. That's AJ. That's AJ. He running around with dudes, hanging out with him and stuff. He's a big guy, and everybody say, oh, big film, you know. But it's like, that's what they, you know, that's that aura. But it's like, there's not a lot under the hood, bro. There's not a lot there. He should have been much better than he is. And I'm going to tell you this, too, lastly, that the fact that he hasn't tried to get an American trainer to help says volumes. Because he's been over here messing around, right? Why not get somebody? Jonathan Banks or somebody or whatever. It's like, try to learn some more stuff. Dude, he's just a big dude that is waiting. He's holding those belts hostage and holding them for someone else who's going to come along and be a real champion. Or they're going to be multiple champions because those belts are going to get broken up as he vacates them or whatever. Because I think by the time he loses again, he's not going to have all of them. He will have given one or two of them up, vacated or something like that. I'm telling you. And Usyk is definitely, I really believe Usyk beats AJ. He beats him. And I think he could beat him mentally. So, you know, AJ in there smiling at Pulev and stuff and pounding gloves and all of that and smiling and yelling at each other. All that like they bros. That's some crazy stuff. Usyk going to be in there playing psychological games with him, but of a different nature. And he's a man, and he's going to show him. But that's what I had to say, man, about that. Anything you want to say about what I just said, Reggie?
No, that's all I have on that one.
Yeah, so... but yeah, that's what I had to offer on that. Let's see. Richard Capital 33 says, going forward, where do you see AJ as far as his career, in your opinion, Stormy B? I just gave it, man. I don't. Reggie touched on it even better. That dude is looking for the exit, man. He's looking for the exit. Matter of fact, when he leaves the sport, if he don't take a loss again first, because he gonna try to get out before a loss, but he'll definitely stop after a loss. But I see the guy trying to exit stage left and be like, oh, you know, the love of the game ain't there and that kind of thing. Watch. How the love of the game not be there? Because things ain't going your way? I told you, man, boxing is not the kind of sport to be getting in there, getting bashed upside the head, and it don't be in you to want to bash people back or come back from being bashed. It's like you can find another way to make a living. And, you know, being soft in the shoes ain't the way to be about it when you're in boxing. It ain't. So, but Reggie, why don't you go ahead and give us your final thoughts, bro?
Oh, yes, indeed, man. Another great show. But, man, we missed that Akhmedov versus Gaga, whatever his name was. Man, if y'all hadn't seen that fight, that was a brilliant fight on the earlier part of that Triple G card. What a brilliant, brilliant fight right there. And pulling off that 12-round knockout in a fight in which, I don't know if you heard the commentator say, the dude, I forgot his name, was Ganagori or whatever his name was, Carlos out of Ecuador, was saying that his team came up to them before the fight was saying, to be honest, we ain't ready for this fight. The fighter just coming here because he needs money to feed his family, and that's the reason why they took the fight. The other dude who was promoted by Triple G was a rising prospect that they were hyping and building up, had a belt on the line, and he went in here trying to go in here and bully a dude because he's a more physically imposing dude, not utilizing his boxing. He tried to get the guy up out of that dude, weathered that storm, came back and beat this dude in the 12th round. Y'all have to go watch that fight. But, man, another great show, OG. I enjoyed it, man. Can't wait for the post-fight tomorrow for seeing if Colin going to come in here and try to fight or if he going to come in here and fold up like Kovalev because of some money under the table. But that's my thoughts, man.
Yeah, you know, maybe after we will do the post-fight show tomorrow night, and we could talk a little bit more about Akhmedov. Didn't we cover him before? He was on a card before, wasn't he?
There's so many of them names I don't remember, but yeah, I think so.
He sounds like a guy that we've talked about before, and yeah, but he got it handed to him tonight, though. That's for sure. But yeah, maybe we'll get a chance to talk about him a little bit more. I might even have a clip of him tomorrow because there'll be something out for him. But yeah, man, another great show, Reggie. We're doing these shows, man, and putting them together, and we have great discussion as well as great chat participation. And I want to let people know out there, like, where's my man at, what we got? I'm trying to find him. Didn't see him post anything in a minute, but Mexican Fight Fan, I want to say, dude, you're more than welcome to express your opinions and everything. Stormy don't get mad or nothing like that, so don't think that. And if we disagree, we disagree. But this is not a thing of like you know, I demand that people behave like this or that. The only thing I don't like to do is have people coming in here and trying to race bait and stuff like that. That's disrespectful because my audience is broad. You know what I mean? That's why I say certain things a certain kind of way, because I don't want to give the offense that I'm coming across a certain kind of way. I'm speaking from a sincere position of what's happening, but it's not my views, it's the views of what's taking place. So I just wanted that to be said and explained. But I appreciate everybody that came out this evening and supported the show. Shout out to those who donated to the channel this evening. Appreciate you guys for that. And we will be back tomorrow night with a post-fight show after we get a chance to see the bouts of tomorrow. And Stormy got it In the Eye of the Storm coming tomorrow afternoon too, around 1 p.m. Central. The In the Eye of the Storm is going to be with Kano Loco Sports. The brother going to be out there with Stormy, and we're going to find out a little bit more about him and his channel and his content that he produces over there. He gives a lot of great interviews from the Latino community and both male and female fighters, and he's on it, man. His grind is real strong as well. So, but yeah, that's about it that we got for you guys this evening. Another great show, as I said, and we hope to catch you guys next week, same time, and hope everybody have a wonderful holiday. Know the holiday will come up, and we'll catch you on the next one. That's it for tonight. Stormybman, Reggie Owens, we up out of here, and catch those fights tomorrow because they're gonna be pretty good. Peace.